On today's episode of the Appalachian Heritage Woodshop, learn to build a modern version of a dry sink.
The Appalachian Heritage Woodshop is brought to you by Christian Internet Services, common sense internet marketing and web design. Our internet marketing commissions are based on results. Robinson and McElveen, thinking business, practicing law. Waterlock's unique tung oil and resin blend stains, sealers, and finishes. The go-to finish for wood enthusiasts since 1910.
The Appalachian area is comprised of 13 eastern states covering 205,000 square miles of rugged, mountainous terrain. It stretches from New York to Mississippi, with West Virginia being the only state totally encased in the area. When this region was first settled, the immigrants had to travel over the Appalachian mountain range with only what they could carry or haul by wagons. They would make furniture and other wooden items that were necessary and functional.
Preparing an Appalachian dinner in the late 1800s was a time-consuming chore. Eggs had to be collected from the hen house. The fresh milk was let to sit while the cream rose to the top to be churned into butter. The bread dough was mixed, kneaded, and left to rise. Vegetables were picked fresh from the garden or retrieved from the root cellar and brought to the dry sink to be prepared. After dinner, the task of washing dishes in the dry sink was carried out, all to be done again the following day.
This is Jerill Vance with the Appalachian Heritage Woodshop. Today I'm in Raleigh County, a town of Beckley, West Virginia. I'm at the Wildwood House Museum, and I'm in the kitchen with Brooke Chambers. How you doing, Brooke?
Great, thank you.
And you're one of the tour guides here at this facility?
Yes, I am.
And this kitchen was actually added onto the house?
Yes, the kitchen and dining room were added in the 1860s.
1860s, so the house is older than that.
Yes, it is. The house was built in 1836.
This dry sink right here is something that caught my eye in here. It was common for the kitchens in the Appalachian area to have a dry sink. You know, they didn't have plumbing come into the house, so they had to bring their water into the house in order to cook and clean.
Yes.
I noticed this one has a liner in it, copper lined. Some of the more primitive ones did not have a liner in it. What kind of tasks would they do right here?
Well, this is the center of the kitchen. This is where you prepare your vegetables. It's where you wash your dishes. It basically functions the same as a modern sink, except it just doesn't have a faucet.
Yep, very good. And I noticed this one actually has a drain in it, so they would have had a bucket underneath to catch any water that splashed out.
You carry the water in and you carry the water out.
Correct, yeah. I noticed this one has some real nice raised panels on it, a very wide centerpiece. This is poplar. It's a very nice design. I like this piece. So let's go back to the Appalachian Heritage Woodshop and I'll show you how to build a dry sink similar to this one. It doesn't matter if you're using hand tools or machinery in your shop. You need to know the safe way to operate your equipment. Make certain you have the proper safety equipment, and most importantly, use your PPE. Be safe and enjoy your shop time. I'm ready to begin dimensioning the wood for the dry sink. I'm going to use poplar. Now, a lot of people will tell you that there's only one way to dimension wood, and that's not true. There are several different ways. And I don't always dimension the wood the same way. And here is a good reason why. If you notice, this board is cupped pretty good. So if I run this across the joiner and get one face perfectly flat and then run it through the planer to remove that cup, I'm going to remove quite a bit of wood. So in this case, what I've done is I've taken the wood and I've cross-cut it about an inch longer than I need, and then I've taken it to the bandsaw and ripped it about an inch wider than what I need. That way, most of the pieces are much narrower and I don't have a cup to deal with. Then I can end up with wood that's a little bit thicker, and a lot of the old furniture had wood that was about 7/8 of an inch thick, and that's what I want. I want to get that look. So let me go ahead and turn on the dust collector, and I'm ready to go. Okay, now that I've got all of these face jointed, now I need to run them through the planer. I just got finished edge joining all the boards. So now I'm ready to rip them to the correct width. I've got my cut list, so I need to set my fence at the desired width. Now I just need to go through my cut list and rip all the rest of this to the right width. I've cut the front, back, and sides of the well on the dry sink to the correct length, and I've already run them through the drum sander. So now I'm ready to do the joinery on the corners, and that will be a locking rabbet. So what I need to do is cut a dado. So I've got my dado blade set up. It's at the right height and the right distance from the fence. So now I'm ready to make my cut. I just got finished creating a rabbet in the end of the front board. And of course, the side board will fit right into that. And that'll be the joint for the ends of the well. Now I've just taken a little bit of coil stock I had left over and covered some plywood. Normally they would have used copper or tin or even lead to line the well of the dry sink. I'm just going to use some coil stock because I had it left over. So now I'm ready to assemble it. This is the front, and as you can see, I've already cut out where the drawer will go. I've got a little glue brush here that I'm going to use to spread the glue down inside the grooves. I want to make sure I got some on the walls of the groove, not just the bottom. Now it's just a matter of assembling it. Everything fits together real nice because of the grooves, the dados, and the rabbets. Put the framework in for the drawer. And I've already cut the groove for the wood buttons. So it's just a matter of getting it lined up and securing it. Nail gun will hold it in place until the glue dries. Okay, now I just need to let that set up. Okay, I've got the drawer parts cut. Now I want to do the joinery on it. This is a simple joinery, just a rabbet joint like what's on the front of the well. I've got the drawer parts all put together, dry fitted. So now I'm ready to glue it and assemble it together. This is a very small drawer, so it really doesn't take much. This is made only to hold a few small items that would be used while they're using the dry sink. Now you're probably wondering why the front is wider than the sides or the back. I have it so the sides, when the drawer is pushed in, will not hit the wood buttons, which will be holding the top on. So that's the reason for it. It takes very, very little to hold this. And I got some nails here. Now the bottom is a hardboard, so it's not going to expand and contract. So I put just a few drops of glue in the groove. It'll make the drawer more solid. Okay, now I'm ready to cut the legs and begin constructing the sides. So I've got my miter gauge set up and a stop set up. So not only am I going to cut the legs for the side, but I'm also going to cut the legs for the front at the same time. Once you get the machinery set up, you need to cut all the parts at that dimension at the same time. So I won't be using the legs on the front, but I need to go ahead and cut them right now. I'm using the domino to attach the sides. It's a quick and easy way of doing a loose mortise and tenon joinery. Okay, now that I've dry clamped and made sure everything fits on the sides, I'm ready to glue them together. So the first thing I want to do is take them apart. And of course they are numbered, so I know which ones go where. These beach dominoes are really good. They expand quite a bit when they get wet from the glue, and they really lock into place. So it's a pretty stout joint, and it's a quick joint. Now these boards are about 5 inches wide, and that's really a bit too wide to glue cross grain solid. So that's why I'm only putting glue around the mortise. Now a little bit in these mortises. Now when these fit together, there is a very, very small gap between each board, and that's to allow for expansion and contraction. This gives it an old look, and it's an easy way of building it. You just have to take the time and get everything lined up. But this loose mortise and tenon is an easy, quick joint to do. Once one side is done, then the other side goes on real quick. Just got to line each domino up. Then it's just a matter of clamping it together. Now, whenever I'm gluing up and I'm lining something up, I like to go by feel. Feel is more accurate than sight. I'll make sure it's square. If it is, then I'll clean up the glue and put another clamp on it. 33 7/16. 33 7/16. That's one good thing about these K-body clamps. They pretty much self-square when you tighten them up. Get rid of my excess glue and I'll put another clamp on it. And one more clamp in the middle. There we go. Now it's time to assemble the face frame. Again, I'm using loose mortise and tenon joinery. A lot of people know it commonly as a domino. Just need to put some glue in the mortises and on the dominoes and assemble it. And then I wipe up the excess glue. Now as I stand it up, it's going to start taking shape. Put glue in for the middle style. And now as the sides get glued on, it's beginning to resemble a dry sink. With it being on a flat workbench, it's easy to align. and keep everything square and flush. And of course, the mallet is handy to keep things aligned properly. And here I've got to use a pipe clamp because it's the only one I've got long enough. And they work real good, plenty of pressure. Now as the middle stile goes in, you can see where the doors will be. Got to take the time and align everything. And here comes the fun part. Spread the glue on the top. And again, put the tenons or the dominoes in the openings. And then I pick up the well, or the sink as some people call it, and install it. Takes a little bit of time to align the dominoes up, but it fits together real nice and easy. And now you can see the shape. And of course the back is not on yet. I still have to apply clamping pressure to the face frame and the sides. And of course I need to clamp the top. Takes a lot of clamps when you do a project like this. And I prefer to clean the glue squeeze out as I go along. If you don't clean up the glue squeeze out, then it's going to affect where the finish goes on. You can never have too many clamps. Now it's time to put the ledger board on. This will hold the bottom in place. I cut a couple spacer blocks, use them to determine where to put the ledger board. And after applying a little bit of glue, I just use a brad nailer and nail it in place. The side ledger boards go on the same way. I just use a little spacer block to determine the location, and then a little bit of glue, and the brad nails hold it till the glue dries. Now I'm installing the bottom, and this is just a dry fit. And to clamp the bottom to keep the carcass square. The bottom's just a spacer. Now I'm installing the nailers, which will support the backs. and they go on with glue and some brad nails. Now I'm ready to install the bottom. A little bit of glue on the ledger and it fits into place, and then some brad nails to hold it, and the bottom is done. Now I've got the backboards cut. I'm ready to put them on. I'm just going to put them on with a little bit of glue and some brads. And also to keep, like the front and the sides, a little bit of a spacer. Got an 1/8 of an inch spacer there. Now it's just a matter of doing the same with the rest of the boards on the back. They go on real quick and easy. This gives it an old look, which was the look I'm going for. And the back is done. I've got the stiles and rails cut and jointed for the doors. These are the panels. It's a cherry panel. I'm going to do a raised panel. So I've got a raised panel bit in my router table, my auxiliary high fence set up. So I'm going to run these through and I'll do multiple passes. Always do the end grain first, so when it tears out on the end, it cleans up on the long grain. Now I'm going to give the cherry a coat of wax. The oil varnish blend is already dried, so I'm just going to give this a quick coat of paste wax. I usually go in a circular motion and then end up going with the grain. Okay, once I get that on, I take some 4/0 steel wool and just go with the grain and buff it. And now I'll do the same thing on this side. Now I'm ready to glue the door together. Because the panel is cherry and the frame is poplar with a whitewash, I needed to apply the finish before I assembled it. So now that I've done that, I'm going to show you how I glue it together. Got to be very careful and not get glue on the panel because it floats. It needs to be able to move, expand, and contract. And also I don't want any squeeze out since I've already got the finish on it. Now I've got these numbered so I know which one goes where. So I got to make sure I get them back in the same place. Now I'm going to start down here at the bottom. I'm using a carpet so I don't scratch my panel since it's already got a finish applied to it. Now I'm going to put a couple of things, they're called space balls, in there. The panel has a front and a back, so I need to make sure I've got the front. And a couple of space balls in this one. Space balls allow the panel to expand and contract, but when it contracts, it keeps it from rattling. Now I just need to apply some clamp pressure. Now I need to take my time and using the K-body clamps, clamp the door together and make sure it's square. I use a mallet and a block of wood to align the stiles and rails. I don't want to pound directly on the inside edge, or it will bruise the fibers. Now I just need to set that aside and let that dry. This dry sink turned out really nice. I really like the looks of the cherry against the whitewash. It's got a nice little cove detail on the edge. The drawer's got a hand-turned walnut knob. And of course, I really like the old-timey hardware. This was a fun project. I hope you enjoyed it here at the Appalachian Heritage Woodshop. If you're interested in any information or plans on any of the items featured on the Appalachian Heritage Woodshop, just check out our website, AppalachianHeritageWoodshop.com. Remember, be proud of your Appalachian heritage.